We know the joy of giving is its own reward. But who says you can't get something for yourself, too? Now when you buy Vanilla MasterCard gift cards, you can enter to win one of over 10 prizes every week for 10 weeks, including a grand prize of $10,000 in Vanilla gift cards. So get gifting and start sharing the delight for more chances to win. Go to get-gifting.com to learn more and enter for your chance to win. Cards are issued by the Bancorp Bank and MetaBank, members FDIC, pursuant to license by MasterCard International Incorporated, and may be used in the U.S. everywhere debit MasterCard is accepted. Terms and conditions apply. Cards distributed and serviced by Income Financial Services, Inc., which is licensed as a money transmitter by the New York State Department of Financial Services, and MLS ID number 912772.
Before we begin our episode, AudioGAN is proud to be DesignUp's podcast partner for the second time this year. DesignUp is not just a conference, it's a design festival. From studio tours, masterclasses, workshops to interactive exhibits. I attended it last year and I must say it's one of a kind design and tech conference where there are clear takeaways and actionable insights from each sessions. This year too, they have a stellar speaker lineup from John Colco, Eric Quent, Payal Arora and many more. It's happening on 15th and 16th November in Bangalore. Visit designup.io for more details. Also on that note, keep talking about DesignUp and AudioGAN on social media to get 2 free tickets for the conferences from AudioGAN. And now let's begin with our today's episode.
Welcome to AudioGAN with Kedar Nimkar, a podcast that documents insightful conversations with Indian designers, artists, musicians, writers, thinkers, and creatives of all types. Catch us on iTunes or visit audiogan.com for more GAN sessions. Here's your host, Kedar Nimkar.
We are recording this backstage of Curious Design Yatra 2019. Today I have Dina Amin with us on AudioGAN. She's a BA in Industrial Design from Malaysia. Dina likes to work at the intersection of various disciplines. After discovering her love for stop animation, Dina founded Tinker Studio, where she produces stop-motion videos for diverse clients and companies around the world. Today we'll try and understand her views on consumerism, insights about product design, and the process of using stop motion to communicate her thoughts. So thank you, Dina, for giving your time, and it's a real pleasure to have you on AudioGAN.
Oh, thank you for having me.
Yeah. I've just labeled it as like trash talk.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got 5 questions, and let's see how you want to just share your thought process and the work which you have done.
Sure.
So as per my understanding, what constitutes garbage is like highly subjective. I mean, with some individuals or societies tending to discard things feel different while some preserve them, right? So how do you define the kind of material which you deal with? And if I can say that it's trash, or I don't know, I've been just following your work very recently, but if you can highlight how do you define the material that you work with?
Yeah. I would say, like, to most people, it would be considered trash, or anything that anyone would throw away. To them, it would be trash. It would differ from a person to person, but to me, there is no trash. It's all raw materials. So you might throw away a plastic phone or something, or a phone or a hair dryer or something, but to me, this is plastic. There is a board inside. There are wires. There are metals. There is a piece of switch there. So I don't see it as trash at all, but it is maybe not raw material because it has been produced, but it is, to me, it's raw material that I can use to make something else with it.
So it's
nothing is trash for me. I don't throw away anything.
So do you consider your work to be like act of upcycling? I mean, if it's not, then what is it? And if it is, then what is it?
It is what it is. I don't know. I try to find a label for it. Some people say I reuse things. Some say I upcycle. What do labels really matter? What it is or what kind of thing it is? I like to think of it as I am maybe bringing something to life, something that people considered was the end of life to it, and they considered it. They threw it away and it's gone forever, and when in reality it's not actually gone at all. And I try to give it another chance and bring it back to life, sort of. Look, sounds creepy, but it's not.
No, I mean, I want to understand because, see, recycling has a typical connotation to it, right?
Yeah.
Similarly, upcycling is always giving back to the society or giving back into the community of what was discarded probably earlier. So that's where the question is coming from. Is it like... is it purely recycling, or is it mix of that, or are you still exploring?
Well, it would... okay, so recycling is when you have to get the product back to turn it back to raw materials. So if it's plastic, you would crush it and then melt it, and then it would go again in the whole cycle. So this is recycling. So obviously what I do is not recycling. Upcycling is you slightly change the material. So you're not completely transforming it back into its raw material state, but you're just maybe like if it's plastic bags, you can melt it down a bit, but you don't turn them back to petals. I think this is what, or like resins again. So this is upcycling. Maybe what I do is more of reusing, so you don't change anything in the state of the material itself, and you take it as it is, but change it in, like, cut it up or what is it called? Like redistribute it or rearrange it to create something else. So this is, in Egypt, most people mix all these up. So people say I'm recycling when I'm not recycling, because I'm not changing back the material to its origin
Form.
Maybe some things could be considered that I'm upcycling or reusing.
I think it's at the cusp of
Yeah, but
I understand now, like, what you're trying to say. And what made you connect stop motion and deassembling things to be an interesting exploration? I mean, what is the process like? I mean, I just started off with the question, but if you can just also tell us what exactly do you do?
Yeah. So the whole thing started, my whole Tinker Friday project started as a coincidence. I did not plan to make stop motion videos, or I didn't even know that I can do stop motion animation. But I wanted to explore, I love taking products apart, and I wanted to explore this. I wanted to know more about products. I studied industrial design, and I wanted to know, okay, why are all these broken products that I've been collecting from markets and from friends, why aren't they functioning anymore? Do we actually need them in the first place or not? How do they work in the first place, and how are they assembled, deassembled? What's the production like? So it was basically a research more of a research project, and for every product, this is what I did. I decided that I'm gonna make it be consistent, so I chose Friday is the weekend, when the weekend starts in Egypt. So I decided that every Friday I'm gonna pick one of these products that I've been collecting, and I'm gonna research about it. I take it apart, I see how it's worked. First, I make like an educated guess about how it works. Most of the time I'm wrong. And then I search online, I see how it's usually manufactured, what would be the common malfunction that makes it end up in trash. I think of, do we really need this product in the first place or not? And I also, it would be different. Most of the products we have in Egypt would be different than the products that are sold in US or Germany, or products in India. So most of the products we have in Egypt are of lower grade products, because then they would be really cheap. They're low quality and low grade. So, but it fits a huge market need, because not everyone can afford this. But they are manufactured to not last that long. So they only function for like maybe, if you'd be lucky if they function for like a month. So I see
that low.
Yeah, that low.
Obviously, it depends on the type of product also.
Yeah, depends on the type of product.
Like TVs may not be like that low.
No, type of products. But like the most, plug converters, these always burn out. So the ones that are made in China, maybe Turkey are a bit better. Japan would be even better. And there's a difference between like lower quality and lower grade. Grade is like I wouldn't make a disposable plastic bottle in high quality. I would make it in lower grade, because it's only used and disposed. the idea of plastic cups anyways is like doesn't make any sense, but you wouldn't make a high quality use high quality for something disposable. But this is how it is. Most of the products we get in Egypt, the ones that end up like in huge amounts, end up in trash, are of low quality because they are cheap and people have to buy them.
But what made you got into it? I mean, it doesn't sound like a mainstream thing, right? You deconstruct. I mean, as a kid, you do that just for your curiosity.
Yeah.
But nobody thinks really of deconstructing it and understanding and then putting out your learnings and observations to the people, right? Online maybe or other places.
Yeah.
So what was that?
I noticed that in many of my, like not many, I didn't do it as often, but I started to notice that I really love taking products apart. We had, when I was studying industrial design, my first project in Malaysia was reverse engineering. This is when you take an already known product and you take it apart and then you reverse engineer. So you go from like the end product to the beginning, and then you design a new version of it, not starting from scratch like something that doesn't exist at all. And I remember I really loved this, and then I noticed that in every job I took on, even if it wasn't product design related, I still find a way to take a product apart and make it part of my job, like part of my research. And then when I finished studying, I went back to Egypt and I started getting, all these jobs. I started in product design doing work that was related to my field, but then I slowly started working in other jobs that were not even design related, but I felt that it's okay, I'm gonna explore, and this is what is an opportunity for me now in Egypt. There are not a lot of product design jobs in Egypt, so I took on whatever job. And me personally, I'm a person who likes to try things out. I don't mind changing my field of work. I I don't mind learning a bit of photography or animation, obviously. Or one summer I'm writing in magazines, another one I'm doing maybe candles or something. I'm just all over the place, and I like learning lots of things. I'm not like a deep learner where I just take one field and just know everything, specialize in it, but I'm a bit of a broad learner, so I like to learn a bit of everything.
More like a generalist.
Yeah, I'm a generalist, of course. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So after some years, like this all random jobs happened in like 4 years, I found myself in a really, really weird, not weird job, like for someone else it would be completely normal, but it wasn't a design job, it wasn't something I liked, and it was like not me at all. I was like, how did I even end up there? So I decided that I really want to fix this, and I'm not gonna keep exploring because maybe I'm not meant to find this thing that we're told, find your passion or this one thing you want to do accidentally. Maybe it's not there yet, and maybe it's not there yet because I'm gonna start it. So I got really excited, and I started to think of, okay, what can I do now? And I literally got out a pen and paper and wrote down, okay, I want to find like something, it must be like something very simple, and it had to be like, I wrote down all the things I wanted to do, or like all the criteria, and this simple thing had like 14 things that it had to be. Like it had to be, I would love to do something that solves a problem, something that my community would understand, or something that would pay the bills, for example, something that would change like the world. Too big, but like, all these criteria. And then of course it was really complicated, and I thought, no, like a simple thing would not have all this. So I decided to pick just one thing of all this list, and once I did this, it became like super simple. It was literally in front of me the whole time. And I decided that if I had to do one thing my whole life, it would be something I love. And then it was literally in front of me. I was looking at one box with all these broken products, and I looked at it and I was like, I love taking products apart. I noticed that I really love doing it, and if I would spend my whole life doing one thing, it would be taking products apart. Okay, so now I don't know how I'm gonna turn this into a career. I don't know how I'm gonna make money out of it. I don't know how it's gonna solve a problem or anything, but I was like, okay, let's try this. I'm gonna decide.
Just follow
Just follow it and see where would this lead.
Sure.
Yeah, and this is how it started.
Cool. And is there any conscious effort of showing environmentally correct use of objects, which people tend to discard, or thereby showcasing their value? I mean, is it just still a fun exercise for you, or are you trying to illustrate a story of deconstructing and constructing, or maybe humanizing the products, objects which you are deconstructing? So thereby narrating the object's point of view, right? You know what I mean, right? When there is, say you break a bottle, right? Is there a conscious effort to share a story that I used to be a container, or I can do this, and so on and so forth?
Firstly, to be honest, it wasn't really about what I wanted to show people. It was more about me and my process. So I wasn't like, okay, people want to see this, so I'm gonna do it. It was really just a research. So it depended.
When I say people, it's not out there in public, but at least your friends and family, where you're like, when you're broken down a thing, a typical reaction would be, why don't you do that?
I understand what you mean. I mean, like, it's not in a sense that it was a series that was constant and it had one message, but it all depended on the product and my research of it and what was interesting to me in that research. So, for example, like it depends on the research. Like hair dryers, for example, I always questioned, do we actually need all these hair dryers, and why do they tell us in our Arab culture that it's considered that long, straight hair equals good hair, and short curly hair equals bad hair? And so when I took it apart, this is what I saw. I saw a character that has curly hair and doesn't want to straighten their hair, and this is the message that came out. So it depends. It's all different than. It's all different. Sometimes the ideas that come out are really doesn't have a message to it. Sometimes it's more about a creative practice that I've been doing, because I had to do this. I said to myself, I want to be consistent, and I did it every single Friday for like a year and a half. So every time I would pick something random. I have no idea what's inside. I have no idea how it works, how it's all put together, and it was just also a very challenging exercise to come up with ideas constantly every single week and animate it and work on it. So it definitely was a creative exercise, as well as researching about the products and the industry and e-waste and waste in general. Also learning stop motion and being able to
tell the story.
Tell a story. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Cool. So I have one last question, and then I have two follow-up very fun type questions, just quick questions. So the last one is, like, since you are experimenting and this particular domain which you have got into is also quite new to me, at least, right? So how did it land up giving you some commissioned work? I mean, if you can share some example, any case study, which could be helpful, because people are curious, right? They want to explore continuously, but they are not very sure that their exploration will lead to a commissioned work or a job. So how, like, I believe you have done some commission work as well.
Yes. So the answer to this question might be, first part satisfactory, second part not so much. So when I first started, I didn't know what I was doing, but I did I didn't know what I was doing, but I also didn't know what I wanted to do. So I started getting commissions around like 6 months in or 8 months in of doing all this. My work started to being seen more, and the project as a whole was featured in various magazines and interviews, and all this which brought me work. Mostly was some was related to the kind of work, not stop motion in general, but would be like a company that sees, this type of product, we have a similar product and we want to deconstruct it, and maybe Dina, Amin can do something like this, turn it to something else and animate it. And some of it was pure stop motion work, which was mostly advertising. And I did both because, of course, you need to pay the bills. So.
Yeah.
So
I mean, it's because very tough, right? If you're like buying a camera and no camera company will come you and tell you that, hey, deconstruct our, because you have deconstructed so many cameras, you deconstruct ours, and like, it's not a very...
no, it could be.
In what context?
Sorry?
In what context it will be? I mean, just to understand, because there are rules and regulations regarding a brand also, right? You can't show a particular brand. The way Carson yesterday showed that the car cannot be on top of the ocean, right?
Yeah,
so on those lines, because...
Yeah, but this is the thing. Stop motion is actually an illusion. I'm not showing you every single thing. I'm actually... cheating you and making you think you saw something that is not real. So it's not that if they want to show like every single part, they can just lay it out and take a photo of it. But this is not really the intention of it. But I have been approached, and actually one of the clients was from India. I'm not gonna say which one, but it was a big brand, and they wanted me to deconstruct their products for an e-waste campaign. And turn it into something else. So this is kind of like they wanted to. It was appropriate because they wanted to promote this e-waste system that they were doing, collection system that they were doing. So it was fitting the message that they wanted to send. So sometimes it fits. Sometimes it's completely different than my messages through my work, or being a creative job in general. At the beginning, you have to pay the bills.
So how did you manage that part? Because
last year I did. I was like, okay, I'm just gonna do the jobs. Let's face it. It's not like a dream. Like no, we live in the real life. And what was the
regular job like?
No, it's like a regular...
graphic design and stuff
No,
like
stop motion animation. I was still doing stop motion animation, but the very... like just turning milk bottles in an ad or something, just making them spin. Wasn't anything creative, or it's not something that only Dina can do. It's just anyone can do this.
Catering for the regional market there and...
Yeah, it's like the normal jobs that are needed, like... so I did do it. You also learn other stuff from it, like you learn how not to work, depending on the client. You work on very tight deadlines, and of course, stop motion needs time. So if you're doing stop motion really, really fast, you learn a lot. So you have to like be quicker, and it's not like you're an artist and you take like a month to do something. You're like, no, you learn how to animate faster. So you do learn things from regular client's job, but it's not as satisfying as doing your own work. So this year I decided that I want to take a break from client work, or just not accept any work that doesn't represent me. And because I would do it, but I would never show it on my website or my portfolio, because I didn't want more work of that sort. So I didn't put it up anywhere. So I was like, this is just, I'm doing the work and I'm just not benefiting from it in any way. So I might as well just work on my own stuff, and maybe I will get work that is similar to what I actually do and I'm actually good at. So that's the plan.
Yeah. I can completely connect with it because, doing this podcast is not my regular job. I'm a designer by profession, and then I design online products. And this podcast is just a philanthropic sort of a project, side project, which gives me happiness also. Cool. I have like two last fun questions. One is, how many products have you broken so far?
Oh my God. Not broken. They were already broken.
Sorry.
Took apart.
Deassembled so far.
Deassembled.
Yeah.
Oh my God, I can't even, I don't know.
But 52 and 2 years, so definitely 100 plus. But I believe one day it must be at least 3 to 4, right? Or how does it work?
Like, it depends on what. For the Tinker Friday series that I was doing, I took apart one every Friday. By the end of it, my stop motion videos were becoming more elaborate, so it took me longer times to animate it. So my last video that I did last year took a whole month to do, so it was only one product. But I do other projects as well with products, disassemble the parts, and I turn them into something else. Maybe in some projects I wanted to learn more about hardware and how to use all these parts and try to recreate something else with it. So I'm always taking things apart. I don't know. It would definitely be hundreds of products.
Wow, that's great. And I'd like to tell our listeners that when she writes Dina, Amin, D is small, and in fact that's written on her website as well, that she has a problem. I won't get into that. I would like to ask you, how do you deal with autocorrect and grammar fixes?
I actually have autocorrect off anyway on my phones and all this, because mostly because whatever my name itself, it would be autocorrected, Dina Ahmed. So for Arabic words and all this always gets autocorrected, and we sometimes also write Arabic in Latin alphabet. Correct. So it always gets autocorrected, so I just shut it off. But the funny thing is, like, the what is it called? The auto-detect. What is it called? The
autocorrect. Or like
the
grammar
interpretation, the keyboard interpretation always writes my name with a lower D, because I've written it so much. So whenever I just write,
it learns over time.
Smartphones, you know.
Cool. I think this is a good note to end this. Thank you for giving your time.
Thank you for having me.
And people have to follow you or your work. What's the best way to connect with you, collaborate with you, and any possible connections from India to?
Yeah, sure.
Just follow your work. That's start.
I don't do all social media. I'm most active on Instagram, and definitely my website would be the best way to reach me. Send me an email and I answer.
And Instagram handle is at?
It's dina.A.Amin.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Dina.
Thank you so much.
I hope to have you again on AudioGAN someday, where you've done like 10x deassembling of her. Cool. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
That's it.
And that's it from today's Gyan session. Catch us on iTunes, Savan, Stitcher, or any podcasting app you use. Do rate us on iTunes and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. Stay tuned for more Gyan on audiogyan.com. Till then, bye.
Buckle up, because Metro is bringing you the best deal in wireless. Switch to Metro and get your choice of 2 awesome free phones from top brands like Samsung and LG, with huge HD screens and tons of memory for all your pics and videos. So hurry into Metro and get your awesome free phones only at Metro. Plus sales tax and activation fee. Requires port-in of eligible number not currently active on T-Mobile network or active on Metro in past 90 days. Limit 4 per account or household. Restrictions apply. See store for details and terms and conditions.